She asks him a simple question. Did you tell her what I said? He answers immediately. No, of course not. But something feels off. His voice is steady, his words convincing. Yet his hand rises to his neck. His eyes hold contact just a fraction too long. His smile arrives half a second late. He didn't stumble over his words. He didn't look away nervously. But his body told a different story. Because here's the truth. Liars can rehearse their words. They can control their tone. But they can't control everything. No matter how skilled someone is at deception, their body will always betray them. Through tiny, involuntary signals they don't even realize they're giving. This is about the hidden behaviors liars can't control, and how to recognize them. Why humans lie. Let's start with the why. Why do people lie? Most lies aren't told out of malice. They're told out of fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of conflict. Fear of losing something. Love, respect, opportunity, control. Someone lies to avoid disappointing you, to protect their image, to escape consequences, to maintain a version of themselves they're afraid will crumble if you see the truth. Psychologically, lying serves a purpose. Self-preservation. It's a defense mechanism. A way to manage how others perceive us when the truth feels too vulnerable, too damaging, or too complicated to share. But here's what makes lying so difficult. It creates cognitive load. That's the mental strain of holding two realities at once. The truth you know, and the lie you're telling. Your brain has to work overtime. It has to remember what you said, keep the story consistent, monitor the other person's reactions, and suppress the truth, all while appearing calm and natural. It's exhausting, and that exhaustion leaks out. When someone lies, their brain activates stress responses. The amygdala, the fear center, fires up. Adrenaline floods the system. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, becomes overloaded. And while the person may control their words, their body starts responding to the internal conflict. This is why lying isn't seamless. Even the most practiced deceiver will show cracks. Because the body doesn't lie. It can't. The hidden behaviors. Liars can't control. So what does deception actually look like? Not in movies. In real life. Let's break it down. 1. Microexpressions. These are brief, involuntary flashes of emotion that cross someone's face in less than half a second. They happen before the person can consciously mask them. You might see a flicker of fear, guilt, contempt, or disgust, emotions that don't match the story they're telling. Imagine someone says, "I'm so happy for you," but for a split second their face shows contempt, a slight curl of the lip, a tightening around the eyes. That microexpression is the truth their conscious mind is trying to suppress. These expressions are nearly impossible to fake or fully control because they're wired into our evolutionary biology. They reveal what we actually feel before our social brain can edit it. 2. Inconsistent eye movement. Forget the myth that liars always look away. That's not how it works. In fact, some liars will overcompensate by staring too intensely, trying to prove their honesty through eye contact. But what you can watch for is inconsistency. Someone who normally makes steady eye contact suddenly avoids it, or the reverse. Delayed blinking, rapid blinking, eyes that dart to the side as if retrieving information, not from memory, but from imagination. There's also something called gaze aversion during recall. When someone is lying, their eyes might shift upward and to the right as they construct a story, rather than downward, and to the left where genuine memory retrieval often happens. It's subtle, but it's there. 3. Changes in vocal tone and pace. Lying changes how we speak. The voice might crack slightly from tension. The throat becomes dry, causing swallowing or clearing. Speech might speed up, as the person rushes to get through the story before they're questioned, or it might slow down unnaturally, becoming overly measured and careful. Some liars sound rehearsed, too smooth, too polished. Others sound strained, with a higher pitch caused by vocal cord tension. Listen not just to what someone says, but how their voice feels. Does it match their baseline? Does it sound natural, or like they're performing? 4. Nervous, self-soothing behaviors. When stress rises, the body tries to calm itself. These are called adapters, unconscious gestures meant to release tension. Rubbing the back of the neck, touching the face, especially the nose or mouth, fidgeting with jewelry, clothing, or objects nearby, scratching, adjusting hair, rubbing hands together. These movements increase during deception because the body is uncomfortable. It's trying to soothe the internal conflict between what's being said and what's true. Picture someone being asked a difficult question. As they answer, their hand drifts to their collar, tugging it slightly. That small gesture, it's a release valve for anxiety. 5. Body orientation. The body reveals where we want to be. When someone is lying, their torso or feet might angle away from you, even if their face stays turned toward you. It's a subconscious attempt to create distance from the uncomfortable situation. Arms might cross protectively over the chest. Shoulders might hunch slightly inward. The person might lean back rather than forward. These aren't definitive signs on their own, but they're pieces of a larger pattern. Imagine asking someone a pointed question. They answer verbally, but their body shifts. Feet pointing toward the door, shoulders turning slightly away. Their words say, "I'm open," but their body says, "I want to leave." 6. Cognitive slip-ups. Lying is mentally taxing, and under that strain, people make mistakes. They might give too much detail, over-explaining to seem credible when the truth is usually simpler. Or they give too little, keeping the story vague to avoid contradictions. They might tell events out of order, then correct themselves. They might contradict something they said earlier. Their facial expressions might not match their words. They say they're sad, but their face shows relief. They say they're surprised, but there's no genuine shock in their eyes. Let me give you an example. Someone says, "I was at home all evening." You ask what they were doing. They say, "Oh, just watching TV, then I ordered food, and before that I took a shower." Notice the reverse timeline? That's a slip. When we tell the truth, we usually move forward chronologically. When we lie, we sometimes construct backward, piecing together a story rather than recalling one. The psychology behind these behaviors. So why does all this happen? Why can't liars control these signals? Because lying is fundamentally unnatural. Humans evolved to cooperate, to trust, to communicate honestly within social groups. Deception creates internal conflict, a battle between survival instinct and social programming. When you lie, your amygdala activates. It treats the lie like a threat, because in evolutionary terms, being caught in a lie could mean social rejection, loss of resources, even danger. So your body responds with a stress reaction, increased heart rate, shallow breathing, muscle tension. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and control, is working overtime. It's juggling the lie, monitoring the listener's reactions, suppressing the truth, maintaining composure. It's like trying to solve a complex math problem while someone asks you unrelated questions. Something will slip. And here's the key. Your body responds faster than your conscious mind. Before you've even finished constructing your sentence, your face has already reacted. Your hands have already moved. Your posture has already shifted. Think of it this way. Lying is like juggling too many objects at once. You can keep them in the air for a while, but eventually, your coordination fails. one ball drops. And that's the moment the truth reveals itself, not through confession, but through the body's involuntary honesty. Our bodies betray us because they're hardwired for truth. Deception is a learned behavior. Authenticity is our default. And no matter how skilled someone becomes at lying, their nervous system will always remember what's real. How to spot lies without accusing anyone. Now, here's where we need to be careful. Knowing these signs doesn't make you a human lie detector. And it definitely doesn't give you permission to interrogate everyone around you. Here's the emotionally intelligent approach. Look for clusters, not single signs. One nervous gesture doesn't mean someone's lying. But if you notice multiple signals appearing together, microexpressions, vocal changes, body language shifts, that's worth paying attention to. Establish a baseline. Everyone has their own normal. Some people are naturally fidgety. Others avoid eye contact, out of shyness, not deception. What matters is change. If someone who usually looks you in the eye suddenly can't, that's significant. If someone who's typically expressive becomes rigid, that's a shift worth noting. Ask open-ended questions. Instead of yes or no questions, try, "Tell me more about that." Liars struggle with elaboration. They've prepared a script, but they haven't prepared for depth. Open questions increase cognitive load and make inconsistencies more visible. Stay calm and neutral. If you come in aggressively, you'll trigger defensiveness, which looks a lot like deception. Approach with curiosity, not accusation. Create space for truth by being safe, not threatening. Recognize anxiety isn't always deception. Someone might show stress signals because they're nervous, worried about being misunderstood, or afraid of conflict. Not because they're lying. Context matters. Compassion matters. This isn't about catching people. It's about protecting your intuition. It's about noticing when something feels off and trusting that feeling without weaponizing it. Ethical use of this knowledge. Let's talk about ethics, because understanding deception can be a tool for connection or a weapon for control. And the difference matters. Use this knowledge to strengthen your relationships. When you notice someone struggling to be honest, you can create safety. You can say, "I can tell something's bothering you. You can talk to me." Sometimes people lie because they don't feel safe telling the truth. Your awareness can help them open up, improve your communication. If you recognize when someone's words don't match their body, you can gently address the disconnect. You say you're fine, but you seem upset. What's really going on? This invites authenticity instead of punishing it. Protect your emotional boundaries. If you consistently notice deceptive patterns in someone's behavior, you're allowed to step back. You're allowed to say, "I don't feel safe here." Awareness helps you make informed choices about who you trust and how much access you give. But don't use this to manipulate people. Don't play games. Don't set traps. Don't use your awareness to gain power over others. Interrogate or control. This isn't an excuse to become hypervigilant or paranoid, analyzing every gesture and word. That erodes trust and creates distance. Judge without understanding. Remember, most people lie out of fear, not malice. Have compassion for the human difficulty of being vulnerable. This knowledge is about emotional intelligence, not surveillance. It's about staying grounded in your intuition while extending grace to the complexity of being human. So here's what we know. Liars reveal themselves, not always through their words, but always through their bodies. The microexpression they can't suppress, the gesture they don't realize they made, the vocal shift they couldn't control, because the body is honest, even when the mind isn't. It exposes what we try to hide. It speaks the truth we're too afraid to say out loud, and when you learn to read these signals, not with suspicion, but With awareness, you become harder to deceive. Not because you're interrogating everyone, but because you're listening to what's beneath the surface. You're trusting the quiet signals your intuition has been picking up all along. This isn't about turning relationships into investigations. It's about honoring the truth, about recognizing when something doesn't align, about protecting your peace without closing your heart. And maybe, as you become more attuned to these patterns in others, you also become more honest with yourself, more willing to say the difficult thing, more committed to showing up authentically, even when it's uncomfortable. Because in the end, the antidote to deception isn't interrogation, it's integrity. And the more you practice it in yourself, the more clearly you'll recognize its absence, or presence, in others. You can't always trust words, but you can always trust patterns.